Hi, in this video we're going to talk about your CJC103 research paper. I'm your librarian, Dawn Emsalem. I'm also the Director of Library Services. And if you have any questions after this, you can Google Dawn Salve Library and find my email to get in touch with me. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a research strategy for this particular research assignment, which will include identifying the kind of words, the search words we can use that will help us get more efficiently to the sources you need, and also identifying the search tools that we're going to use to find those resources. We're actually going to find sources for your paper because after this video, you're going to do an activity where you go into the search tools and find the sources for your paper. And we're going to practice using those search tools, which are EBSCOhost databases, which is our library article search, and the library catalog, which is our book search. So the first thing to do is look really closely at your professor's assignment and what he wants you to do. So a description of this assignment is that you are going to be doing a literature review. So you're going to be looking at the literature surrounding the topic, which is broken windows theory. And then you're going to analyze the theory through time. So you're going to be participating in the scholarly conversation on this topic. And your professor is giving you the first article where this theory was introduced, which is great. And then you're going to be looking at articles after this, after the period, the 1982 article and then the 1998 article. And you're going to find 3 additional sources. They can be scholarly articles, think tanks, criminal research organizations, and book chapters. And the time period is 98 to present, and you're going to be thinking about how this topic has evolved over time. So the theory is introduced, and then it gets implemented by police forces across the country. And then the scholars evaluate how the implementation of the theory went and whether it worked or whether it didn't and why, and that's what you're going to be looking for. So to craft this strategy, we think about what information is required, scholarly resources, so not Google, not websites, but scholars. What types of sources are required, articles, book chapters, think tank reports, which you learned about in your last CJC 103 assignment, and criminal justice research organization data and reports. The search tools we're going to look at, the article search, book search. The search words we're going to try probably broken windows, but you might find that adding other words is useful. We're going to just try them in the different tools and see how they work. And what we're talking about is the scholarly conversation and how that develops over time. So that's really what your professor wants you to see, is how scholars and practitioners interact using this theory and applying it over time, and what plays out and what arguments do they have for or against this theory. So the terms that you need to understand, and this will be useful for you throughout your Salve career, is these are research words. A database in general is a way to organize different information so it's easier to find in library land. A database is a collection of journals mostly, and sometimes books on different topics, scholarly journals, and they're organized sometimes by discipline. In this case, we're searching broadly across them. References and citations are used by scholars. All scholarly articles have references and citations, and this is where the author is letting you know what other scholars influenced their thinking. So they provide a citation, and these citations can be really useful because if you find that the author notes an interesting idea and then tells you what article that idea came from, you can go find that article by looking in the bibliography and then going to the library homepage and looking for the article title. Peer review is how scholars try to make sure that the scholarly articles that get published are of high quality. And basically what happens is they An author submits their article to a journal. The journal editor decides whether it's possibly worthy for publishing and then sends it out to other scholars to give feedback. Um, Sometimes they call it refereed. Scholarly journals have several qualities that are good for you to just be aware of as you start to interact with them. Um, they tend Journal articles tend to be pretty narrow in scope, so if you're trying to get your sea legs on a topic and just sort of understand the broad subject matter, they tend not to be the best thing, um, except for that article that your professor is providing where it introduces the idea of the theory. But usually they are very narrow in scope and like explore like a very specific aspect of a theory. The audience is other scholars, researchers, students, and in your field, practitioners, because a lot of the decision makers in policing like to know what's the theories that are developing that drive the policy. The authors are experts in that area, so scholars, professors, subject specialists in that area. And very important for you to be aware of is that the language is usually pretty difficult. It uses some words that are specific to the field. The meanings are sort of specific to the field, and it takes some time to get through. Sometimes you're Googling the words, but uh, over time, you'll get used to this kind of language because it's the language you'll be using in your field, and it'll get a lot easier. But just be aware and give yourself some time while you're doing your research and reading. So with that, let's pop out into the library's homepage, which I usually get to by Googling Salve Library. And then the first place we're going to go is the book tab. This is where our library catalog is. It defaults to this when you go to the library homepage. We'll just type in Broken Windows. And this takes us into our library catalog, which looks like this. The first thing I usually look at is the number of results. Here we have 401. And you can look at print or ebooks if you want. And you're like in your PJs at home, you can click on retain filters up here. I usually suggest you do that so it keeps your choices. And then down here where it says format, you can choose that you only want ebooks. And that takes us down to 184 results. The first book we see is this 2007 book, so that's in the time frame your professor wants. And if you can see the summary. So this is talking about broken windows theory, so it seems pretty good. And if you click on the view ebook, you see that this is in our ProQuest Central. So um, our ebooks are offered by different vendors and the interfaces are all different, but there's several things you can usually find. The first important thing is that there is a table of contents here, so you can see like an idea of what is covered in the book, and you could download your PDFs here. You could also click on Read Online right here, and this takes you right into the book. The table of contents again is on the side. You can also look for words in the book, so names like, search within right here, like Bratton, for example, who was one of the original authors. And so if we click here, this little purple little thing here shows how often that word shows up in each chapter. So Bratton doesn't show up a ton. It's only 8 results in the whole book. But you can see that they're citing articles by the authors. And the other thing you can do is search by like location. The only thing is that this search tool isn't super smart. And when I search for New York, what it does is when I look here, if I click the down arrow, you can see that it's just looking for new throughout the whole book. And then it's probably looking for York separately. It's not superb. If we tried Chicago, for example, it just so happens that we sort of have better luck because the name of the city is easier to find. Anywho, if we go back here and scroll down, maybe we can look at some different types of results. For example, this one is a 2018 ebook, and if we look at, we can see this one in the summary is telling us it's about New York City, so maybe we're interested in looking at it through the lens of New York City, and we view this ebook, and this is one of our JSTOR ebooks, so it looks a little different. Right here, we can see that it's broken into chapters, and each chapter has like a little thing, a little blurb where you can see if it's useful. Here you can cite in the ebook right here, and you're going to be using APA citations, so you can just copy and paste that into your paper. I forgot to mention that in ProQuest. If we go over here back into our ProQuest ebook, this little quote thing right here will get you the citation. So you can, and you want to hit that down button and get your APA. It's defaulting to MLA. And anyway, back to our JSTOR ebooks, you can also download each chapter and then read it on your computer. So you may see some other ebook interfaces here, but those are some of the examples. If we go back to the library homepage and click on the Articles tab, we can search in our EBSCOhost databases for articles on broken windows. And let's see what happens. So there's a few ways that we can look at these results. And in one thing we'll notice, again, you always look first at your number of results. In this case, we have 5,000, so that's a lot. We can add other words, and often I suggest that you kind of look through the results and see what comes back. And you may choose to see what words are used and how they describe the topic and how they're exploring the topic. Here it's talking about policing, and I can see here there's something on neurosurgery, so we might find it useful, since we have so many results, to add another word. And I could do policing, but I might also choose to use this asterisk, which we call a wildcard, and that'll do police, policing, everything after POLIC, police. So it'll give us a lot of results. And now we cut it down by a lot. We're down to 1,400 results. And so we can look at this. So for example, this one is from 2024, and we can see a little bit of the abstract of the article or summary of the article. And if this looks interesting to us, we can click on Access Now, and it's going to give us the PDF. If you want, you can go back into the database, and this little 3 buttons, 3 dots on the side will give you the option to cite. So you can get your citation right there. And you're going to go down to APA 7th edition and copy to clipboard, and then you got it. And you can also, there may be other ways, like this one says if we wanted this one, it was access options. And this happens sometimes. It says find full text, request this item. This means that this particular article isn't available in EBSCO, but it may be in another database. So we click on that, and it's taking us over to ProQuest, which is another database. And you can get the full text here. If you're in ProQuest, you click on Cite, and again, it'll give you your APA citation. So what you're looking for Cite is it either says Cite or it's got the little quotes, and that's how you get it. And then you can click here to get the full text PDF. And that's probably enough to get you started on your research so you can do your activity.